June 23rd, 2011. Will the minute taker please call the roll?
Alderman Woods.
Here.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
I'm here.
Alderman Coles.
Here.
Alderman Sismarski.
Here.
Alderman Lazara.
Here.
Alderman Eugene Wesley. Alderman Winger.
Here.
Alderman Shockey.
Here.
I declare a quorum. Next item is approval of minutes dated May 26, 2011. I make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a report and recommendation on streetscape sign project. And with that, Mr. Clicker, would you like to take it from there?
Yes, in front of you in your packets tonight, you do have a memo regarding the Streetscape Committee's community sign project. This matter was originally scheduled to be presented to the Planning, Zoning, and Building Committee on January 27th. However, the matter was tabled until a later date. Recently were asked to put the matter back onto the agenda, and the proposal and everything remains as originally presented for the January 27th PZB meeting. The Streetscape Committee had been reviewing the possibility of having a comprehensive entrance and roadway signage plan developed for the city of Wooddale, a guideline or a blueprint, if you will, for all future public signs in Wooddale. The Streetscape Committee back in November reviewed proposals that were presented or provided to provide these services. And after reviewing these proposals, they have recommended the Lakota Group to provide the services to the city at a cost not to exceed $15,400. If the committee agrees with the recommendation from Streetscape Committee, a contract will be drafted up by the city attorney for these services, and the monies would be taken from the Streetscape Committee's budget. With that, Daniel Grove from the Lakota Group is here to do a short presentation on the proposal before you tonight.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. I'll keep it brief. It looks like you have a pretty full agenda. But I just wanted to go through real briefly. Again, my name is Daniel Grove with the Lakota Group. I'm a vice president. We've got a good staff. I think you've met some of them through the form-based code process. We specialize in landscape architecture, urban planning, design, historic preservation, and community relations. The goal of this, as we see it, is really to just bring a fresh, creative approach. We've done some looking at potential signage through the Thorndale process that I think was received positively. We want to build on our knowledge and our experience working with Wooddale, and contribute our experience that we know going through many successful signage programs, going from design all the way through fabrication and implementation. And really look to come up with the best program possible, cutting edge technology. There's a lot of opportunities out there. And just something that at the end of the day will get built and will help in the branding and marketing and identity of the community. Just flip through real quick a couple projects that some you may be familiar with, others you may not. And is it not happy? Oh, it crashed on me. I apologize. I have no idea. Let's try that again.
Doesn't like that slide.
Okay. I think you have in front of you in your packet project sheets. Suffice it to say, we've worked in numerous communities. Currently, we're working with the village of Grays Lake on a very similar process, where we go through taking a comprehensive look at the entrances and the access and key paths into the village, into the city in this case, look at a range of options and get it to the point where you have a package that you can go out and have competitively bid Wow. Those are, so we've worked in Elmhurst. That's not what it really looks like, but we recently completed a streetscape project in Plainfield, Lockport Street. We had internally illuminated street signs. We've worked through a process in Barrington. They're at the point where they're looking to implement and start having some signs fabricated. We've done some streetscape and signage in Oak Park. We had a really exciting project in the Quad Cities looking at a river trail and interpretive markers and gateway signs for all of the Quad Cities along the river. Let's see which way I'm going. Uptown Park Ridge, it's a more recent development in downtown Park Ridge. Again, directional signage and identity signage. We are just wrapping up a project in Ferndale, Michigan. We went through and did actually a comprehensive wayfinding project. So you can see we did everything from entry gateways to building signage, historic interpretive signs, directional signs, roadway signs. And the first phase of that is going in the ground currently, and I'm going to be making a trip out there in about 2 weeks to inspect it. It was about 30 signs was the first phase. And how we approach this is we go through, we would kick off with a project meeting with city officials, staff, and do a community tour, really look at the locations of the signs. I know that in the RFP, a lot of those have been identified, which is great. You've done a lot of the homework so we can be even more efficient through this process. Document review, just to understand would affect the placement or sizing of these signs. You get into a lot of regulations at a national level, the MUTCD, Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which is the boring way of saying take the creativity out of it and make it all look the same. But we've found ways to work around that. So we do analysis and come up with a wayfinding plan as to confirm where the sign should be located. Then we go into our design development, where we'll come up with a range of options, have a city review with staff again and elected officials to look at the options and narrow it down to a preferred selection, refine that design. And one of the things that we've found is to be really important is to do mock-ups of the signs. So get them printed out full size, work with Public Works if we can to have them put up on poles. They're printed on on hard cardstock, board stock kind of that can be used temporarily, but it helps us just to confirm that the sizing, the placement, the lettering, everything is going to work before you move forward and actually have them constructed. So we would do a mock-up review as well, just to make sure we can refine, have another chance to refine the designs. Move into final design and creation of a design development packet. And the goal is that you can go out for a competitive bid. We don't put in a ton of time to create construction documents, figuring out all the nuts and bolts, because when you get a signage fabricator, they're going to work through a shop drawing process, and that would just be doubling up of effort. So we've really streamlined our process to get to a design development book where you can get the best bids possible. We've worked with numerous sign fabricators throughout the Chicago area as well as the nation, so we can help with that process as well and get you to the point where you're ready to move forward towards implementation. If desired, we can we can assist with bid packages, bid review, and review of shop drawings to make sure that the design intent is preserved. And additionally, if desired, we can also help with any kind of public process, working through have an open house or have a workshop instead of just reviewing the concepts with staff and elected officials. So that's the basic overview. It's a very streamlined process. I think we said in the proposal 3 months to the point of having some documents ready, depending on just meeting schedules, knowing that we're kind of in the middle of the summer and getting everybody to the table at the same time can be a little tricky. But that's the basic overview. Apologize for, I have no idea what happened. But any questions, anything that I can answer, please feel free.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Grove. And just a few overall comments. So I understand that Streetscape Committee is the one that initially started this. Is that correct, Mr. Clicker?
That is correct.
Okay, so I'd like a little clarification from you on why it started, because I'm not clear on it, that I'm pleased with the current signage right now. I'm not sure exactly what my fellow aldermen feel about it, but I am pleased with it. I feel we will eventually be in a transition, the city will be, but it might be a little too early for something like this, in my opinion. And also, if we were to do a study like this, perhaps it could be towards more constructively towards businesses and how they do need to get to monument signage. And I've been talking with other aldermen recently, and that is a push to do that. And maybe the study would be better off focused on looking at businesses and what they can do to comply and the cost and negotiating and coming up with more of a manageable cost for businesses to comply. Because right now, I'm not seeing compliance. I'm just not seeing it. We got to get there. We got to make it look nice. So that's my overall comment. And then what was the initial reason for going this way?
Going back to the Streetscape Committee has been working on this for quite an extended period of time. It originally started with a desire to have some directional signage in town. If you recall, it actually a mock-up of a directional sign was made and placed out, which we recently we don't have any longer. It disappeared from the roadway somehow.
Like a couple of weeks, it was there and gone. I was wondering what happened too. Okay.
Then, as Streetscape continued to work through this, it started into, well, let's pick locations where signs might be more appropriate, and it appears, looking through the records, that it kind of became the idea that there should be an overall designing guideline for all the signs, because people have said that it doesn't look like there's been a consistent theme with signage in the city for public wayfinding sign. And again, we just recently had a discussion with this on Monday night at the most recent Streetscape Committee meeting, and how this could even be very beneficial for the Elgin O'Hare process that is going on concurrently with this. As the Elgin O'Hare begins to get into aesthetics of the roadway and sign designs for that, they are looking to the municipalities for leadership on that. And as you know, our Thorndale corridor process has already influenced the IDOT process in road design, and they are looking to Wooddale as being a leader in this. So there's a really good chance that our design package could influence the sign package for the Elgin O'Hare Expressway, and also be the guideline for us to follow for the future.
Okay, my thought would be that a lot came out of that study that we spent, what, $400,000 on or whatever. So I would take a lot of that, you'd be our leader, and bring some of that forward. I'm going to call on others here for Mr. Alderman Lazara.
I know we're doing a study with Baxter and Goodman on our signage, or Woodman. How does that overlap with this study?
I believe what you're referring to is the GIS mapping of all of our street signs.
Right, and then we have to comply with different signage now.
Yeah,
because
this
of-
is just an aesthetic change in our sign makeup, adding wayfinding signs, redoing our street signs, things like that. The GIS with Baxter and Woodman is just sign mapping. So even if we got new signs, they would, be mapped. I mean, obviously the old street signs would be where the new ones are. It's just a new sign for the ones that are existing.
Okay. So do they have to comply with the new reflection law?
Well, all the signs that we would get would have to comply with all rules and regulations, yes.
Okay. So that's pretty much how it's going to overlap. Thanks.
Alderman Woods.
Being on the Streetscape Committee now, maybe I could shine a little light on it. One, we do have to move forward with the new street signs. Second part of this study is trying to unify the town, so when we do decide to put up the new signs, that we're not wasting any money. I don't think we're looking to put up any right now, but just develop that consistent theme along with the Elgin O'Hare Thorndale corridor, that when we do it, we're ready and we have a consistent theme throughout the city, because there's a lot of things that are changing. Roads may shift, things may happen downtown. But just when the question comes up, and this will also help to your question, Alderman Winger, the business district. Maybe that'll give them some direction of what they want to do, or give us a background to give them some direction. But my question for you guys is for the 15,400, what am I getting? I mean, there's a lot of phases in here, and then we can go to phase 3, phase 6. I'm not into the phases. What do we get for that dollar? What's that going to take me to?
The goal is to get to a comprehensive design package. So the signs that were identified, the gateways, the directionals, the street signs, and then I think the minor directional, kind of the entry signs, pole-mounted entry signs. You would have a design package that would tell you the dimensions, the colors, the specifications, the lettering, everything that you need to one day, when the time is right, have those built for you. So it would be everything that a signage fabricator is looking for to be able to put a price to it and move forward.
But again, for this 15,400, that whole package is going to be complete. I don't need another study or
Right.
another phase.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the only additional services that we identified is if you get to the point that you have that package in hand and you're ready to go and do your first phase of signage construction, if you wanted us to help you with that process through bid assistance and reviewing the signage fabricator's shop drawings, we can do that. You don't need to. Staff can handle that. We have experience with it. That's something that can be dealt with at the time, could be years down the road. And then also if you wanted to, there wasn't anything identified in the RFP for any kind of workshops. So if you wanted to have some public participation or workshops, that was the only other thing that we put out there. But otherwise, the 15,000, that gets you that document and all the process and all the conversations and the refinement of designs to get you to that point.
Okay. Within that process, did I read that you're going to go around and spot locations
Yes.
for
Yeah.
signs?
Generally, in a design development package, we would have we would locate the signs, give some general dimensions as to how they're going to orient to the street and where they would be placed.
Okay. And I think part of my issue would be, since there are quite a few things in the city that are in flux, I don't know that the spotting of those locations, I get developing a consistent plan.
Right.
So I'm looking not to waste any dollars.
Okay.
And maybe if we could reduce that package and say, we don't need to walk around, we need to develop signs, and there could be 2 different signs, or you can vary. If you give me a monument sign, welcome to Wooddale, that could be varied depending on the location in the future that we figure. You know, that's what I was kind of hoping to see, or if we could reduce that, or reduce maybe some of your time, thus reducing our expense.
Right.
Being that we're not quite ready
Right.
to move forward, but it is a necessary thing
Yeah.
to move forward.
I think on some of the directional signs and the pole-mounted signs, those can be placed anywhere. You know, generally in the right-of-way, you're going to have opportunities. The entry signs, you know, the monument signs, I think you do want to spot those because you want to understand how much, very early on in the process, understand how much room you have to build those and what the sight lines are. I mean, looking at the 2 that you have on Irving Park Road right now, you know, one is at Prospect, it's smaller than the Dunkin' Donuts sign. It's almost behind the Dunkin' Donuts sign. So as you're coming eastbound into the city, you know, the room that's there, is that the right place for it? And going through and reviewing with staff, and would there be a better location for it? Would there be a sign that we could do on the pedestrian bridge that could get some more visibility? And then the other sign down at the corner here, you've got a lot of room in that location. You know, a lot of landscape. You've got sculptural elements there. So just making sure that whatever is designed is appropriate. The letter height is readable, easily readable for approaching vehicles at the design speeds. So I think for those signs in particular, you'd want to go through that exercise. For the other ones, you know, which corners they go on, I think there'd be flexibility in the design to establish, here's what, directional signs. You can have 3 pieces of information, 3 different arrows pointing in different directions down the road. Staff can identify what those pieces of information are and where the signs should go. So we can have that framework instead of saying specifically at these locations.
I'm not clear on, when we speak of inconsistencies of signage, what inconsistencies are there now? I want to remind everyone that these signs were put in about 9, 10 years ago, so they're fairly fresh. They're looked at and resemble our Wooddale emblem. So what is inconsistent?
Just again, the signage that was being developed, the mock-ups and that really didn't appear to be consistent with the existing monument signs that were placed. Again, if larger elements are to be designed, could that design that has been used on the poles, could that be put into something else? And it was debatable. So
Gotcha. Okay, so it's like integrating the directional signage in with everything else? Okay, Mr. Murmas?
Actually, some of the signs that were the most recent signs to be put in, the Wooddale signs that you see throughout town, they are actually starting to become in disrepair. The material that was used to construct those signs is starting to wear down. I don't know if Mr. Kramer has anything to add, but that's pretty accurate, right, that they are wearing down?
We have spent significant money in the last couple of years purchasing new letters. They are like a foam core letter, painting those signs, doing maintenance to them. We have tried to keep them fairly well looking from 20 feet away, 20 miles an hour. But again, they are falling to some amount of maintenance is going to be needed in the outlying years. So either some major maintenance to some of that brickwork and some of the other facets of those signs are going to need to be addressed at some point.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Murmas?
Also, some of the other kind of individual components that the Streetscape Committee was talking about were kind of like in Elk Grove, how they have their logo on their street signs. That would be a component to the project. A wayfinding sign like you saw for Elmhurst, where the business district is this way, the library's that way. We don't have that now. We want to make sure that not only do we repair our current signs that are in disrepair, but any new features that we have for signage all match and are all one theme.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to call on Mr. Mayor, and then I have a question. Mr. Mayor, please.
Yeah, in all fairness to Russ, he came onto this about 6 months ago, and this project dates even before me. When the committee was talking, they had, I don't know, about 10 of those directional signs with 8 different things. So we did the mock-up one. Nobody liked it. And then the manager, another alderman, were looking at, talking to different sign companies and whatnot. And this is how they came up with the design.
Okay.
Am I correct, Jeff?
Yeah, that's accurate. I believe the Streetscape Committee's probably been working on this in some sort of way for probably about 2 years. So it's been quite extensive to get to this point, and there's a lot of components out there, and they wanted to make sure that it was brought all together.
Please follow up.
And the follow-up, I mean, some of the numbers we heard in Streetscape were to do this whole project could be 300,000 or whatever. Again, this is not going to be something that's done in 1 year, not in these type of economic times, and it would come out of Streetscape budget. Like, they have 50,000, so 30% of their budget would go to the design of this project. That's about it.
Okay, thank you. And then the follow-up that if we're looking at the street sign logo, and I've often thought that too, let's put an identity on our street signs that we have in Wooddale, at least on the main thoroughfares, Wooddale Road, Irving, and have like a leaf on the signs or whatever. What kind of cost would we be looking at if we started doing like signs like that and incorporated that into the plan? What would the resulting cost be after the plan, idea-wise?
I think the mayor was pretty accurate when he said, I think the full build-out for all the signage, the logos on the street signs, the wayfinding signs, the new entrance signs, all that, I think was about 300,000, I think, for full build-out.
Oh, okay. So
For
like
everything.
every street sign in Wooddale?
Well,
literally
on
side
Irving
streets
and
everything?
Wooddale, all the thoroughfare, the street signs.
Yeah.
The side streets, yes. all the wayfinding, all the welcome to Wooddale signs, all those. Yes, that's all 300,000 full build out. This is the plan to get you the design to do that. Yeah, the street signs, the individual street signs with the little logo, anywhere from 700 a sign to 1,500 a sign,
Wow.
depending on
Really?
design.
Oh, my goodness.
But also, it depends. I mean, if you're talking about retrofitting the existing signs,
Yeah.
but then, I mean, I think the signs have to be studied again to make sure that they meet current regulations in terms of letter size and reflectivity. And so there's a good chance, because those signs, the most recent adopted ordinance, the MUTCD, was just at the beginning of this year. So it was late 2010. So, there's a good chance that those aren't in compliance.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Coles.
I got, these signs aren't interfering with the business type signs that we force the people to take down the pole signs and put up signs like we have in front of our building. This don't have nothing to do with that.
Correct.
Because that was an ordinance probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Correct.
We put that in.
Yeah, this has,
No interfering.
No, sir.
Okay. It's just for the signs for Wooddale.
correct.
Okay.
Alderman Sharkey.
I think I've got a few things I'd like to mention. First of all, I was the one who brought up 2-3 years ago about the idea of putting just the leaf outline on our regular street signs, the ones that say Maple Street and so forth. And that was never acted on. And then last year, somebody came up with the idea of putting a sign on the corner of Wooddale and Irving on the triangle with just a couple of arrows showing where City Hall was, where the fire department was, where the post office was, and maybe one more thing, because when you get beyond 4 things, you can't read it. Matter of fact, that sign that was made originally that was taken away, there were at least 8 things on there, and there's no way you could drive by and read it all. You'd have to stop. So, we also built a train station with a coffee shop, thinking that people would come over there and companies would want to build by it and so forth. Now we can't even, we're going to have to pay for somebody to run the coffee shop because it doesn't pay for itself. As to IDOT, IDOT isn't going to imitate our signs. IDOT has their own designs, and it wouldn't make any difference what signs we had in town. They're not going to change anything on the expressway or tollway. So I think that's really not a good argument. We can't change the location of the sign on Irving Park Road. As a matter of fact, the one on the east side was supposed to go where we allowed the new dental office to put up their sign. So it was put in the center of town instead, and it took away our sign from the end of town. But I'm sure there's something that we can do about letting that sign be seen better behind the Baskin and Robbins sign. You talk about the signs breaking down. When we put those up, we were going under the restrictions of the county, and they have to be breakaway signs. They cannot be signs that a car would hit and have major damage. Those materials were used that way to make them replaceable easily and to make them maintainable, not to last for 30 years or something. To tell us that we need to spend $15,400 for somebody to tell us what our signs should look like, when we had an architect on our streetscape committee before. When when we put the signs up at the end of the streets, we didn't even have that, and we were able to design something without having to pay a consultant. Another point is that the consultant is doing the work up at, as you say, up by Thorndale. You know, we're going to put up signs over here, and then what if we wanted a little different design or something? I think the timing is bad on this. I think that we should wait until we're going to be doing, before we do anything major, where we're paying a consultant to tell us what to do, that we wait a little bit and see what kind of signs we're going to have up there. As a matter of fact, I think the consultant has some ideas of signs already on the, how much was it that study? 400,000 for 300,000. We already paid for the Thorndale corridor signs. It just seems like to take, as the mayor said, take 30% of that tourism budget and spend it just on a consultant for signs, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. We have labor problems and so forth, and I think if they saw us spending this kind of money on a consultant for signs, they're going to feel that they deserve perhaps something more than what we're willing to give them. I think the whole idea is just been overblown from one sign in the center of town to all of a sudden dozens of signs. We just don't need something like that. If we want a sign, we can just put up that one sign on that Wooddale Irving corner with the arrows for 3 or 4 different things. If we want, we can start putting the Leaf logo on the street signs. And for the time being, that's sufficient. I mean, how far do we have to go with these consultants? I would not pay for this out of my own pocket, so I'm not going to vote that the city pay for it. Thank you.
Before I call on Alderman Roy Wesley, Mr. Murmas, did you wish to be recognized? Okay. Alderman Roy Wesley?
I have a question for Mr. Kramer. We do our signs in-house now, correct?
Street signs, correct.
Do we have the machine capable of making that leaf?
No, we don't have a machine. Basically, we buy the sign blanks, the green color reflective blank. We then buy letters and numbers, and that's how we make our signs. Traditionally, that works out fine. If you wanted us to make the Wooddale logo like that's on the front of the dais and put on there, I believe as we did for one on Ash and Irving, we would just have a company make those for us on that reflective 3M material. We'll put that on the corner of a blank sign and then add whatever street name we need.
And the cost would be tremendously a lot lower than, how much was it for those signs?
Estimated between 700 and 1,500.
How much was that logo?
It depends on the sign blank, but it wouldn't be more than $20, $30 when you're talking the sign blank, the letters, the individual logo, possibly a new bracket on that pole, so you might be up a little more, but.
Yeah. All right. So we got that answer for $30 for a logo, roughly. And we're sitting here talking about spending $15,400. We just gave Lakota $400,000 to do the Elgin O'Hare. Wasn't there signs in that plan? Any signs?
As part of the plan, as part of the comprehensive visioning that we did, we came up as an extra. We put in some ideas for signs that were well received, and I think that would give us the ability of something to build off of here as a starting point if desired. But yeah, we created some conceptual sign designs.
So
it wasn't part of the contract, it was something we just did as part of that design process.
as far as I'm concerned, as in landscaping, landscapers feed off of other designs to do other designs. And as far as I feel that I take it that if the city council decides to go with this, you're going to take that plan and just add to this one and just.
No, I would disagree. What we've done traditionally in other communities, what we just did in Grays Lake, is we would come up with a range of ideas, because oftentimes, in this process, you're looking for something that represents the community, that helps convey a branding and image to other communities, helps draw in visitors, directs them successfully to your businesses and your regional destinations, your library, your city hall. And so we look at that very seriously. We look at what the imagery is. In Ferndale, Michigan, we looked at what the historic structures were. We took visual clues from the historic structures. We looked at other elements that made that community unique, and we tried to build off of that. And so we would come up with a range of ideas. The idea that we threw in as part of the Thorndale process was just a thought, just to get people excited about the vision of what Thorndale could be in the future. So here we would look at it with fresh eyes. That may be one option that we would bring forward and try to develop into a higher level. And then the idea would be then to work through a process and see what filtered out as the preferred scheme.
Okay. Could I go on?
Yeah,
Real quick.
if you can just do one other follow-up, and I want to call in a few others, and then I want to talk about direction we're taking this, because I don't want to just debate this because we might be able to do something constructive still and keep the dialogue going, but come up with
Right.
something that works for everybody.
The-
Alderman
The
Braylon.
towns that you just, like Elmhurst, they have a downtown. Bartlett, they got a downtown. Have we found downtown Wooddale yet?
No.
So I think that's important that we find downtown Wooddale first. So where we put these signs. So I'm not gonna, I can't sit here and spend $15,400 when I can't find downtown Wooddale first. That's all I gotta say.
Can't you see it?
Yeah, City Hall, we're all here.
Okay, with that, Alderman Woods.
This brings me back to originally asking, you're gonna find locations, and my issue is the same as everybody else's up here, spending the money. But on the other hand, I'm torn because I think the part that's missing is the design here, and I'm not advocating, I'm looking actually to reduce that price. Could we just design the signs, we'll figure out where they go later at a lesser cost. But the unification of, we put up the prairie-style lights, and we're spending the money for that. We put up the train station. This will further help unify those issues. So I'd like to see the unification of all those elements. The problem is right now, is the other alderman pointed out, we don't know any of those locations, where they're going to go, although it would be beneficial to have the design. If we could get a package, maybe come back that was a lesser amount, just to design those, and give us a spectrum, and then when we figure out where we want to go, maybe we come back and go, okay, we want the monument sign here. We know what the designs are going to be. We just need it beefed up a little bit. This one needs to be wider or smaller. Maybe some interim step so that we have something on the books to move forward on. And as far as the comparison of the existing street sign and one that you might put on Irving and one that you might put on an interior residential street, those signs would all be different, right? We could have a $100 sign on an interior residential street and a $600 sign that's going to go with our lighting and our bridge lighting and all the other elements that are in town.
I mean, I think there's a lot of flexibility from issues that I've just heard tonight. If there was a desire, say, on the gateway signs to save the brick columns with the lights on them and look at a different graphic or look at the materials that the current graphic is made of, and instead of fully redesigning that, if there was a desire to look at smaller incremental steps to things that could be done more in-house, clearly we can go back and refine our proposal if that's desired, to slim it back and look. I mean, we tend to advocate for a more comprehensive approach, just so that your bases are covered, because you never know what tomorrow will bring. But clearly, we understand the challenges and can look for creative solutions.
Alderman Lazara.
On the back of your handout here, Do you have any idea of what the wayfinding sign would cost, the one that Elmhurst has?
The gateway?
Yeah.
Off the top of my head,
Mr. Clicker?
I called the company that manufactured that sign after Lakota was done with the design. And that particular sign, because of the overall design and the base that needed to be constructed for it, that sign was between $40,000 to $60,000 when all elements were. I said, yes, the four-sided city center sign.
are you talking about this one or are you talking about this one?
I'm talking about the smaller one.
That one I did ask about that, and they did indicate that the cost of a sign similar to that would be around $2,000.
About 2,000? Okay. And what about the one that says Elmhurst on it?
I did not, the entry sign, I didn't get a price on that. I did get a price on the four-sided, and they said for just the sign itself, the four-sided sign without a base would be about $25,000.
I'd say the two pole mounted one, usually the most expensive element is the light, is the poles, because you're basing that off of a light pole. You can bring it down by using other stock parts, but those can be anywhere 8 to 12,000, depending on the complexity of it.
And we would need how many of those?
Right
3?
now, I think you identified 2.
We have 2 that we, I thought we had 3 right now.
Was there a third in the?
How many? There's only 2?
I mean, I thought 2 were identified in the
Okay.
RFP, but I could be wrong.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gathering the consensus is that this, at least a majority of the council, from what I'm hearing, is that this is, we believe right now, premature. Although I do believe we should keep the dialogue going on signs, literally tabling this issue to the next committee meeting for 2 reasons. First being the sign code enforcement, and maybe there is some work we can do to really give ideas to the businesses, give an idea of cost, negotiate costs, et cetera, and then the businesses would buy into that to really see the change. And secondary, the signs for Wooddale, for example, this $2,000 sign, which is a beautiful sign. I mean, maybe we can start looking at that now and making a difference and having the directional. So with that, I'm going to make a motion to table this item to our next committee meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any questions on the matter? It sounded like someone wanted anything. Alderman Shockey?
Yes, I'd like to see, in our streetscape committee, we have a couple of businessmen, we have a contractor, we have a master gardener. I'd like to see them, see if they can come up with some kind of design that would be applicable for the whole city. And without having to go to a consultant, I'm sorry, but it just seems to me that this is something that we could do ourselves as a council and as a committee. So I'd like to see that happen.
This is something that, please be sure to bring it up during the discussion at our next committee meeting. And Mr. Grove, thank you very much for coming out and talking with us and going through the proposal and preparing the proposal. Thank you. Next item is report and recommendation for the commuter station coffee shop lease. Now, is this Mr. Forrest? Are you doing this one? Okay. Mr. Forrest?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As you all recall, after the city published a request for proposals, Christie's Restaurant was awarded the contract for the coffee vending service at the train station. At the time, it seemed to make a lot of sense due to restrictions put on the city by the DuPage County Health Department as far as the extent of product that could be presented and prepared and at the train station. It made a lot of sense. Unfortunately, the coffee vendor service was not able to be financially successful due to the lack of business. The subsequent elimination of the rent that the city charged, we were hoping that that would be enough to help put the vendor over the top. Unfortunately, it was not. He was not able to create a profit-generating situation, and in December of 2010, he ceased operations there. Since that time, staff has spoken with 2 other interested parties about reopening the coffee vendor service. Unfortunately, after consideration, neither one of them wanted to move forward with it. So the city council requested that staff meet with Mr. Frenzos and see if there's any way we could work out some sort of an agreement with him to get him to reopen the coffee vendor service. And what we did in a couple of meetings we had was analyze his receipts, and unfortunately, in the summer months, he was averaging about $20 a day gross. During the winter months, his revenues were ranging from anywhere from $50 to $70 a day. It was costing him between $90 and $100 a day just to open the shutter, to pay his staff, because they were having to come in at 5 o'clock, get things ready, and they opened at 5:30, which is about the time the first commuter train heads out. They would stay open until 9 or 9:30 a.m. and then clean up and close up. So again, in order to resume operations and at the minimum have a vendor break even, possibly even make a couple of dollars, we're looking at $100 a day. You know, the thought was, would the city council feel that the coffee service was enough of an amenity to offer Metro riders, where we might want to partially subsidize or in some other way assist the vendor? We kind of ran the numbers, and using the gross revenues given to us by Christie's, it would cost the city about $14,000 a year to keep the coffee vendor service open the way it was operating. This figure obviously would vary a little bit if revenues increased or decreased. In the long run, staff would expect there to be enough riders to make this a viable entity. Hopefully, once the Wooddale Station condominiums is completed, which, again, I had conversations with that developer last week, they are planning on moving forward with that. I know we've heard it before, but also, hopefully, once the economy turns around a little bit. I mean, again, in speaking with Gus, he seems to feel a lot of people were bringing coffee from home, whether that was to just save some money or that was traditionally how they would like to do it. That's what it was. I mean, I think discussion-wise, if you wanted to give staff this direction, there are a couple of things that we could consider. One would be to put some vending machines in the train station, either have the city purchase them and operate them, or the other would be maybe to just contract with a vendor who has the machines and let them maintain them and fill them and make some kind of a revenue split with them. The other option we might want to consider is opening the coffee service seasonally. Again, they found that in the winter months, the revenues came pretty close to breaking even. According to Gus, he made money on one day, and that was when the trains were delayed and people were kind of backed up at the station. And, I mean, the other thought might be just to open the station during special times of year, maybe from middle of November, through January, where you've got people taking the train downtown to do Christmas shopping or go down to the parade, something like that. So, if you'd like staff to investigate either one of those directions, we could certainly do that and come back to you at a later date.
Thank you. Alderman Eugene Wesley?
John, on this coffee shop, if we decide to do with vending machines, where would we put those vending machines? Will we take the door out the window and push that counter back to secure that, or how? Where will we do that?
Well, you could either get the full height machines and just find some floor space to put them. The other thing that I was thinking about is they do make some half height, some shorter size vending machines. My thought would to be open the rolling door. The front of the counter right now has some shelving built into it, so we might want to cover that with a Formica or some sort of material. Actually place them on the counter and just leave the rolling door open, have them be on the counter. Whether or not we would want to box off the area to enclose it or just leave the back open. I mean, it's not unattractive looking in there. There's basically just a countertop back there, and there are windows looking out, so it's not like it would be ugly or anything.
You know what, I'm almost leaning towards the vending machines. I really am. The only drawback I have, if we put those vending machines, not even, I mean, if we do vending machines, we're going to have to do by the roll-up window. Because if we put them anywhere else, then we're looking at possibly running more electricity in that train station. And I don't think there's that many outlets to put a vending machine, because right now we got ATM machine in there, right?
Correct.
So if we do anything, I would look at, if we choose to go with the vending machine, I would, for us to get in the vending machine business, I don't think that's a right decision for us to do that. Because I'll tell you one thing, there was a guy that owned a vending company that was a fireman with us, and all he did is constantly go out and fix these machines. I would sooner look at a cost share with a vending company, and you know, you could get a coffee one. You could also get one with canned pop and candy bars in it. There's a vending machine out there that's a split. You know, there's candy bar chips in that, and then on the other side, it's pop that come out of there. I would be more lenient to see who's out there with a vending company and come up with an agreement that way. But I would consider putting it where the coffee shop is and push it back. I just don't think that low end door, I don't know if those low ones will work in there. I don't know, but I would consider that before anything else.
Question before I call on Alderman Shockey. If we did have an individual that was literally just pouring coffee, had cream and sugar, and maybe a newspaper for people to buy, what's involved in that? Like, does this individual need licenses? Like, what's their overhead cost to literally brew coffee, serve it, maybe it's $1 a cup, and sell it the Tribune or the Daily Herald, whatever it is? Like, no pastries, no food, nothing.
The biggest thing that would stand in our way is, again, the limitations put on us by the health department there. When we were building the train station, you know, we were talking with the health department, and the way that things have ended up, a vendor is not allowed to prepare any food there, brew any coffee, anything like that, or they're not allowed to wash coffee pots or anything like that. If we had wanted to go that direction, we would have actually had to put together a small commercial kitchen. We would have had to go, our plumbing expenses and our equipment expenses would have been substantial to have actually had that be, it would have then become a commercial kitchen. So what we have now is Christie's basically had a license to operate the train station similar to the type of license a vendor would have that would work the Summerfest.
Okay.
Just kind of you carry your stuff in, you know, you serve it, and then you carry all the dirty dishes and everything back to your place of business and you wash them there. That restriction is partly what's making it hard to get another vendor interested in doing it. And that's why it made sense for Christie's to actually get the contract, because they were just able to walk things back and forth across the tracks.
What is the cost of that license roughly? I know you don't, I know it, and
I think $100 maybe, something.
a year
Yeah.
to have the license, and someone would just have to bring the coffee there and the cups.
Well, they could bring coffee, hot pots
Yeah.
and set them up, right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Alderman Shockey?
You kind of talked about what I was going to.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm glad you did, but, you know, they have these big things of coffee. Metal, we have one at home, it's not that large, but it's something that Gus and one of his employees could carry over there, and it'd kind of be nice. One of the reasons that Gus said he had trouble is because people weren't used to seeing a coffee shop at the Wooddale station. They brought their own coffee. Now, I'm just wondering in my mind, how about if we gave away free coffee, paper cups, have some of the sugar packets and cream packets so that we could pay Gus for, have him take one of those big urns or those big things where you just open the spout and pour your coffee, put it over there early in the morning when most of the people are taking the train, come and get it, take it back at 2 hours later. Is there a problem with license or liability, or, I think if we could build the business that way, by having free coffee and getting people used to getting coffee there, then perhaps in the future, Gus could try again, and people would buy coffee because he also has the sandwiches, sweet rolls, and everything else. But we need to start out small and attract the people first.
I know the council's probably not going to like what I'm going to say, but I'm just going to be blunt with you because that's my style. Gus from Christie's literally did
Don't want-
give away
He
the
did
coffee
give
for
it-
free,
Oh,
and people still didn't want to take it. He really doesn't want to do the joint venture with the city. He's hesitant to even do that because he knows that the people really don't want the coffee. So maybe perhaps we should stop thinking about trying to force feed these people coffee. I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Same as coffee, I guess, with Wooddale residents or who's ever using the train station. So maybe if there's another unique idea we can use that room for, I don't know, like a aerial of the city, like a scale model or a museum, historical thing about the whole route as a whole, just something for people to look at while they're waiting for the train instead of trying to force coffee down their throat. It's just an idea.
As a follow-up, I like that idea very much, and it's something that we could do. And once we get the center of town going, and with the station buildings and all that kind of stuff, and something where the 7-Eleven used to be, maybe there'll be enough business sometime in the future, when there is a town center, that we can go back to selling coffee and sandwiches or whatever. So I think that's an excellent idea, to have some kind of thing out there, even about the Thorndale corridor or any of the models that we have, just to let people see what's going on in the city. Excellent, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to recognize two others and then or a couple others, and then I'd like to revisit this at the next committee meeting with some more concrete thoughts on how to go forward. But I think we've established Gus does not want any part of this business, right?
I suppose that's pretty accurate.
Okay. Okay, is there anything else that you wanted to mention before I call on a few others?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Alderman Woods?
I think I'm going to go where everybody else is going to go. I think we've talked about it enough. 3 business guys that have been doing it for years. Nobody wants it. Let's move on, find an alternate use, and maybe look into the vending machines and call it a day.
Okay, any other comments there? Okay, so if you can come back with some, like, proposals on vending machines, it doesn't need to be at the next committee meeting, but proposals on vending machine costs, how it would work. Is there a vending machine company that'll just service it and we don't have to pay anything, but they'll come in and do that? And then, unless we find a taker for it, then I think that would be more ideal. If someone wants to pour the coffee and take on that cost, but, and just one other thing that, like, would we be willing to, like, rent free? Like, if we had a coffee person, I don't know that we would need to charge rent. It'd just be good to service our community, is that right? Or are we looking for rent money and all that? Alderman Woods?
I think just technically, we'd probably have to charge, even if it was a minimal amount, to give them a lease, whether it's $5 a month or something, just to keep everything. I mean, we could consult the city attorney, but I think that would be a wise decision.
Mr. Murmas?
Ask the city attorney about that. Does the council want us to look into alternative uses for that room other than vending machines as well in the report, or just vending machines?
My thought is yes, and I thought I heard some of that, but does anyone disagree with alternative uses as well? Okay, Alderman Sismarski?
Do we have a booth there that holds an attendant that can give, because I know you pay extra when you get on the train at that booth. At our train station, you pay extra to get on the train than you would if you got an attendant there. Who can maintain the coffee or whatever.
Mr. Murmas?
Yeah, I believe Metra actually dictates which trains or which train stations would, have the need for an attendant to sell tickets. We don't qualify for that.
Okay, then Is the direction pretty clear? Is there any other clear? Okay, we're good? Okay, then that was for discussion only at this time. Next item is item number 6, information, a courtesy preliminary review for 895 Wooddale Road. Mr. Forrest?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd just like to make a couple of comments before I turn it over to Mr. Clicker to do his presentation. Then I believe there's a representative here from Gullo International that would also like to do a presentation. I just want to clarify so that everybody understands why staff brought this issue forward. What we need to do tonight is just kind of focus on the concept of whether or not the City Council would support this proposed use that Gullo International is bringing forward. Staff has worked with Gullo for about a year, with the concept of putting this trailer parking area up on that property, which is currently zoned commercial. They've actually prepared a couple of different revised plans, and now the latest plan is the one that was included in your packet. And I think, in fairness to Mr. Gullo, they are going to have to spend a substantial amount of money to get some preliminary plans together for this project, to do some preliminary site engineering plans prior to applying to the Community Development Commission, formerly the Zoning Board, which is where they're going to need to go first, to do their text amendment and the variations. So really, I think what staff is looking for, again, is whether or not the City Council would consider supporting the concept of what they want to do. I don't think we really want to go into an in-depth discussion and the particulars about what it's going to look like, what's going to go where. I think Gullo is looking for some direction. Should they spend the money and go forward? Do they have a chance, or is the door totally slammed shut? So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Clicker to do his presentation.
I'll make this incredibly brief. Mr. Forrest covered everything that I wanted to discuss with the presentation. It is purely that. It is a concept. We're asking, is there support for the concept? Not the site plan that's in front of you. The site plan was presented just to put some meat behind the concept. But the question is, would this concept be endorsed? If the answer is yes, we will work with Gullo International and the city attorney on drafting the appropriate language to regulate such a use. And we will also then work with Gullo on an appropriate site plan for the site. If you have questions, again, Gullo International is here to answer those.
Sure, good. Alderman Eugene Wesley.
So tonight, you're looking at us to give authorization to continue with.
Some guidance we're looking
Some
for.
guidance.
Yes.
Well, if there's a plan in front of us today, and going, John, he don't want to get in a long discussion with this project, but I have a drawback here. If we got a plan in front of us and we give him the blessing go, and there's some issues that I have with the plan here.
Correct, understood.
The way I'm getting this indication tonight is that we aren't going to discuss our concerns about this plan. That's the way I got the presentation from John. So.
I'm just going to jump in for a minute.
Okay.
I want to hear your concerns, and let's voice them, get them out there so we understand what they are. Don't hold back, and it's not just to nod our heads and say maybe.
But yeah, just
let's
to
get
follow,
the concerns out there.
We're not that we don't want to hear the concerns, it's just that we're not looking for an approval of this site plan with this. The site plan is
Right.
just prepared for discussion purposes.
Okay, because I have some questions on site plan. I'm sure. I'm clear that I can question.
Do you want to do that now?
No, I'll wait till, I believe he's got presentations. so.
I was gonna basically answer questions, basically. They had
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
The drawback I have on this project, and you know what? I know this is part of Thorndale corridor eventually, possibly a hotel up there down the line and that. There's two concerns I have, is the trucks being so close up to Woodell Road. We have a company now, help me out, the company up there now that's got the, what? Leader Express. And what bothers me up there now is they got their trucks all the way up to Woodell Road there, just about.
Correct.
And you know what? I have a hard time driving down there and seeing those trucks all the way up to Wooddale Road. And so my concern is if you would push those the last row back or eliminate that last row towards Wooddale Road, you know, and that's my concern about those trucks being that far up to Wooddale Road.
I understand.
You know, it's an eyesore. It's total eyesore.
I understand, and like Ross was saying, staff was saying, this was a concept to put behind the idea. We were asking for a text amendment and saying what we'd like to do. You know, we looked at it as much as we could develop. We looked at it that way. If we need to cut back to meet staff and council's requirements, we'll be happy to look at that and come up with a good concept that everybody's happy with. Absolutely. We
Okay.
have no problem with that.
May I?
Yeah, please.
The other comment I have, I believe it was going to be a gravel.
A
for
pervious,
parking,
pervious type surface, yes, sir.
which will be like gravel.
Correct.
Is there a reason why that you can't put a blacktop on that, or not full-blown blacktop, but like a binder? Because here's my concern too. Are those trucks going to be empty? Or are some of those might be full of product?
You're probably going to have a little bit of both,
So
absolutely.
my concern was with that gravel, if we get heavy rain up there, if those trucks sink, then you got a problem.
You may have some movement, in I understand,
So-
yes.
Would you, that's another, I'm not saying, I don't know what a blacktop job costs for a whole entire part. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know.
Sure,
that.
I understand.
That is my concern too. I would like to see some asphalt or something there to hold that in place.
We can, yeah, I don't think that'd be, objected by ownership to look into coming up with a solution for you, for that situation. Like I said, this is all concept to come up with an idea. We can run this all by staff, and like I said, we have several other review committees to go through yet. We just wanted to see if this would be acceptable in the city of Wooddale. You guys would like to see this here for like we said, we're also proposing for a temporary amount of time. So even if we had to go to a blacktop surface to recoup some of the investment we're putting into this, obviously we'd want to get it extended as far as we can within acceptable means because of the more cost associated with that. But like I said, this is just an idea to see if you guys be acceptable to this.
But on a follow-up on that question,
Yeah.
you brought up another, if you go ahead and we decide to go ahead in the planning and zoning board and it's blacktop in, my concern is, and it's your property, no doubt about it. My concern is we do a 5-year deal here. Is it going to be a permanent trucking dock area, or do you have future plans to, once Thorndale come, of selling that property off and taking out that truck? See, that's I cannot support a full trucking facility for Lifetime out there. I'll tell you that right now.
And that's not our goal for the property either. That's why we've asked for a temporary means on. We were asking for 5 years and a 5-year extension. It all depends where Thorndale Corridor comes in. We know it's coming. Is it 2015, 2014, when everything starts? But what we're hearing back from marketing is that none of our bigger retailers, and we want to follow what you guys have put down with your ordinance, with these hotelers, the retail, the recreation type facilities. We want to get that client also, because in the long run, we get a better return on our dollar, for that type of client. But we're looking to do something for the time being to keep it from being a vacant lot. And this is one of the temporary solutions that we could do.
I have one more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, a lot of people do wish to be recognized. I'm going to call on Alderman Woods and Alderman Shockey. Alderman Woods?
What type of client is using the space? Is it a singular use client, and is the traffic going to be in and out, or is it storage, or, and part of the follow-up to that is the economics of it that we just discussed. You're going to have a 5-year lease if we gave it to you, which means you're going to give it to somebody else with a 5-year option. So we're locking into you, you're locking into a client, so really we're going to be stuck with whatever we do potentially for 10 years.
Correct.
And back to the first part of that question,
Yes.
who is it, a singular use client, or is it multiple clients using that?
It'll probably be, at first it'll be a mixed use. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that we'll market right to Leader Express right next door to us. They will be one of the first clients that will park on this particular lot.
So really, you're going to set this up as a use for the property and go out and get, whether it's 1, 5, 12,
Correct.
15,
And-
20
Correct,
trucking firms to use that space?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. A little clarity on the 10-year, I was thinking 5-year. How did we turn it into 10 years? Oh, okay, the option of.
An
doing
option
10,
to,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. Alderman Shrike, then Alderman Close.
Yeah, when I first looked at it, I said, oh my God, no. I would hate to see all these trucks lined up along Wooddale Road, but I think Alderman Wesley hit the button on it when he said if we can eliminate that far west row of truck parking and perhaps put some kind of screening up there, trees, bushes. Another question I have, though, is that are any of these trucks going to be sitting there with their motors running?
No.
Because we have a hotel across the street, and those diesel trucks can be pretty loud if they sit there and just run that motor.
Good
question.
Okay,
There's more than that, Nunes.
okay.
Leave it there overnight, maybe next morning.
So as long as you can move it over to the east and put some kind of a proposed screening fence, as you say, or bushes or something, so it's not so obvious, and we don't have the motors going all the time. I think we've worked with you enough in the past to know that we can trust in what you're doing, and I see no problem with it after that.
Alderman Close.
I have one question. You say it's going to be parking of semis and trailers. By parking semis and trailers, what happens if a trailer comes in at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning? And he's got right to park there, and he pulls in, he's got his smokestacks or loud. What's going to happen to the people that are in the hotel next to him, listening to this truck? Sound off. Or a guy comes early in the morning, say it's 5 or 6 o'clock, or 4, or 3, winds up his truck and gets it going without a buffer. That stuff's going to carry because it's going to be quiet there. What are you going to do about that?
I don't know if these people, because I have another situation, Oak Road, they do temporary situation too. I never heard anybody complain. I know there's no.
Yeah, but do they have a hotel next door?
There's office building across the street.
Yeah, but office buildings don't start till 9 o'clock.
Honestly, I couldn't answer that question because I don't drive trucks. I only know they park in there and they use for a place to store when they come back.
All I'm asking is, what happens when somebody comes in after, say, 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock with a semi that's been on the road, or you'll find somebody that'll find, hey, we have a parking space over here. You don't have any control over it because you're not going to have any gates around it, are you?
We will try to put a fence there to make sure we
Well,
can control that.
It doesn't say that in the paper.
We will definitely do that. We put a fence around.
And he comes rolling in, and he parks his truck there. You don't have nothing to do with the company that you're dealing with, or you
No.
yourself.
No.
Guys
You-
find places to park.
We will definitely control that. There will be a gate.
Okay, all right.
Okay, well, let's put it down as a concern. That's a concern
Sure.
that we
It's a
do
concern.
have. There's a hotel
Sure.
nearby and all this, so it's something that is an issue right now,
Sure.
currently. Alderman Lazara.
Thank you. Do you plan on putting electricity in?
Not at this moment because this again is a temporary situation till we're ready to develop the real development. So put electricity there? No, because really shouldn't be no activity during the night. It'll be during a daytime, you know.
Just follow-up question.
follow.
The reason I ask that is because diesel trucks in particular, in the winter months, need to be plugged in order for their.
No, they usually let them run.
Well, that's the other problem, is they'll let them run if they don't have electricity. And I've got 5 trucks that in the winter, I'll start them at 3 o'clock in the morning and have them run all day until I get a run. So trucks do run all day long, especially if there's no electricity. Because if you don't have an electric, basically dipstick to heat your oil, you're going to need to keep that engine running, or else you're not going to get started.
I see.
So my suggestion would be, if you want it to be quiet, you really should put electricity in for these trucks so they can plug into it. And then you charge extra for it. I mean, that's,
I guess we could look into that too, yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Alderman Kuzmarski.
Is there a purpose for the detention pond on the backside?
Yeah, we will have to provide detention as to meet the requirements.
Would it be feasible to put it in the front and put a hedgerow or a tree row in front? Oh, I'm sorry. Would it be possible to put it in the front and may have put a tree row in front?
No,
maybe more
because
aesthetically
all the
pleasing?
detention,
Closing up.
the way it pitches everything to the back there, you know.
Okay.
It's just a follow-up to that question also. We would tie it into the existing detention pond that's farther to the east of that. And so, and it all drains out farther beyond, so we have to tie it all together.
Thank you.
Comment for myself on the illustration. It has the Lot 4 street where it's off of, like right off of Wooddale Road. Do you see where the street says Lot 4?
Yeah, this street right
Okay,
here.
it seems very close to the entrance exit to the property right next to it. I think that's, you know, right now I'm already working on a conflict at Georgetown Shopping Mall where it's a close in and out, and we're trying to resolve it. I think we're creating a problem having them so close to one another when you have 173 trucks coming in and out, and then the other lot coming in and out. It's just, I don't think that's gonna work. I'm sorry,
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Forrest? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Actually, this driveway that you're seeing developed on Lot 4 is already in existence. That's that driveway that goes in and serves Leader Express and the Miano building.
Sure,
So-
but it doesn't have 173 trucks coming in and out right now.
True.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Gullo.
Yeah, that road is there existing, that has trucks going in and out of there every day to serve the building by Miano.
Right.
So it is designed, built commercially for, you know, for trucks.
Yeah, but the volume is going to be like double or triple, right?
I didn't get I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
The volume of in and out is going to be like tripled or quadrupled. No?
Well, obviously, there's going to be some going in and out, but these people don't go all at the same time because, you know, they most of the time they're on the road, the delivery material. So when they come back, like on weekends, whatever they come back, they have a place to park.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Alderman Police? I'm sorry, Mayor Police?
Sorry.
You get to move it.
The fencing you have, is that chain link fence or it's just, you're talking?
It'll be chain link fence, yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay, then we had, okay, Alderman Roy Wesley.
Do you have an idea what you're going to spend on this project?
Say it again?
The dollar amount that you would spend?
We haven't estimated totally yet because, yes.
Any idea?
Maybe about $700,000
$700 just to do this?
to do all the detention, the excavation and paving, because it looks like, you know, the paving is a good idea for some, but it's matter like with the paving. They require at least 10-year commitment somehow, but obviously that's not what I'm counting. If soon the development comes, the real for high rise, whenever they got to do that, then it doesn't matter everything else, you know.
Okay. would you have a problem, we were talking about the diesel truck making noises and plugging in at electric. Would you have a problem with making a certain section furthest away from the hotel? To make it maybe 30 slots or whatever?
Well, the idea is that the way we have here, we have about, I would say, at least 60-some feet buffer.
Okay,
We could do that as green area totally, but if everybody thinks it's not enough, I don't know, maybe you have to eliminate one line totally, which is costly then for us to do, losing that line, you know what I mean? Because if you do already eliminate that line, that means you gotta do, that driveway, you gotta do the same way for the east line. So you could take advantage of the west line if you have that driveway already. But we still have a 60 feet, so if we could beef it up enough with the landscaping total, that total 60,
right,
yeah.
okay. How long are you looking for this temporary thing?
The way I see the economy goes with the expressway, this is probably nothing's gonna happen within 10 years for real development. So I mean, obviously we are open to that, as soon as real development comes. But for the time being, we wanna take advantage of using this property. So it could be 10 years, I don't know.
Okay. I'm looking at this, Mr. Gello here has helped the city out tremendously. One of the things that brings to my memory was the Thornton gas station that brings millions of dollars back into the city in sales tax. And you gotta remember, he's the one that brought this project to us, bringing millions back into the city. And Mr. Gello, I really don't think that he's looking for a truck terminal for long-term, for putting a truck terminal on Thorndale, Wooddale Road. And I think his heart is out for Wooddale, spending $700,000. Right now, it's just a bunch of weeds there, and it would show some improvement there for a temporary thing. And I'm sure Mr. Gello wouldn't spend $700,000 just to keep it just weeds. I'm sure he wants to improve the property. And we all know that Mr. Gello does build buildings. He has buildings empty now, and in this economy, he's just trying to make the dollars worth for the property. And, you know, we've always hear from businesses that some businesses don't want to come to Wooddale because it's hard. We're hard on businesses. And yeah, we need to be hard to make sure that businesses know that we mean business, but also we have to be somewhat given too. And, you know, I'm looking, Mr. Gello is spending $700,000 trying to approve this project, and he's not gonna I don't think he's gonna sit here if the economy changes in 2 years and say, well, okay, the economy's changing, I'm building a building, forget the $700,000. And let's go ahead with this. At least we have something there. And, you know, it might attract another business there because now he has trucks there, but the business might want to build a factory right there because it's right on Thorndale. And he's going to build a building. And hopefully it's going to bring more tax dollars to the city of Wooddale. So, you know, I say I'm in favor of it, and let's move forward. I mean, let's make a new leaf here and say, let's help businesses. In this economy, we have to. Our president's not helping us.
Alderman Eugene Wesley?
Do we get sales tax? He's gonna charge $125 to $200 a stall.
First off, the new company that moved into Oscar Warehouse, I will tell you that they move trucks out there day and night. And they run their trucks 24/7 out of that warehouse. Okay, so that ain't my concern about the noise because we got trucks coming out of there already. Now, the concern I have here is in Alderman Roy Wesley brought up a point about tax dollars for businesses. I will tell you, tax dollars for businesses, if they aren't claiming their taxes in this town or in DePage County, we are getting zilch. Okay? Okay? Because that's why we have that air freight place down the street there that gets contracts left and right. And how much sales tax dollars do we get from them? Zilch. Because they claiming their sales tax in a different state. It's the same thing with Boise Cascade that move out Itasca. They left because they claim taxes somewhere else. If they don't claim their taxes in this community or in DePage County, we get zilch. I'm in favor of this project, providing you go ahead and make the concerns we have, that I have. I think it's a temporary thing for up there. But if you do a chain link fence, that one I'm having a hard one taking out too. Because now you got, unless you push bushes high enough to hide some of that fence. I don't like that fence. I don't like that fence that Osco has up there. No, but that was up before. So, I mean, I would support the concept of this plan, but those changes, but we would like it, like I said, that one lane go back to at least that corner of that Osco building that we don't see those trucks all the way up in Woodell. That's my concern. So I would support the concept if you could come up with those.
We could put a bunch of line of pine trees tall enough so it maybe hides everything, 60 foot.
Trees will never be tall.
That's, but the point is, I just don't want those trucks that far up. And that's my concern, and the blacktopping. That's,
The
so
blacktop-
I would support it if we come up with a concept like something like that.
With the blacktop, I'm looking into to
Okay.
to do something like that.
Along with the trees.
Alderman Woods.
I'm just going to help to try to sum up. I think that everybody here is kind of in agreement that we would go for this. Obviously, there's some concerns. If you address those concerns, I think that was the question on the table. Are we open to the idea and the concept? I think everybody would agree that we're open to it if all these issues are addressed. And that's all I had to say.
Yeah, we will work together, no problem.
Mayor Police.
Yeah, I have the same concerns, and I think we talked about it. The trucks all the way up front, I mean, they go past the building. And the fence, that chain link fence, you need it for security? Is that why you need the fence?
Yes, for security, for people don't break in. And of course, the fence is not going to be high. The fence will be at the level of, probably what?
I know there's a fence
6
over
foot, 6 foot fence. But the trees, if we could put a big, tall tree, so it will hide the trucks.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I know, Russ, you said there was some triggers and there's some legal issues.
Correct.
That have to, because I want to make sure that, it was somebody already brought up to me, well, if we're going to put a, truck lot here and give a variance here, the guys that are building those condos on Irving Park, they're going to come in, well, can we put a truck lot over there right now? Economy, we want to make sure that we're protected.
Correct, and I've already had discussions with that with our legal team, and we can put protections into the text amendment so that the use of this type of, the application of this type of use in the C2 can be limited.
Okay, and Ms. Schultz, after this committee, we will take a break. So, and I think we're getting close, just so you know. Okay. Okay, Alderman Lazara.
Just the concern on the engines running, especially if you aren't going to consider electricity. If you do take out that front row, which is what the mayor was suggesting, and no one likes the fencing, because the fencing really doesn't provide for any sound barrier. One of the things that I've seen in one of the parking lots that I've been involved with that are too close to like hotels, where they take the very front of it and they mount it. They make it really high. I mean, obviously, everyone knows the tractor trailers are pretty high. So in order to completely take that away, where you can't even see the trailers, I've seen them where they mound it. In other words, you're going to have to do some, movement of earth. And then on top of that is where they plant the evergreens. And this way, you can't hear and you can't see the trucks.
Well,
Just to kind of.
on this property that I ever remain, I could probably create a berm enough there and still maintain what are we talking about?
Uh-huh.
And keep the economics the way we try to develop, because that way gives me enough quantity to make the investment properly, especially if I have to spend 700,000.
Okay, I mean, that was just a suggestion on how to maybe muffle that sound.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to call on Mayor Police, then Mr. Forrest, Mayor Police.
The berm is gonna, with the water, there's a water retainage problem here we've got to control, has to meet, right? Full waiver, we have to retain full waiver status for the city. If we start putting a berm, you're gonna start putting more water, you're gonna need more detention. And let's face it, there's trucks right next to, in that old ASCO building already, so, I don't know if I would push for the berm. I think that's a little over the top.
Okay, then, did someone else? We're okay right now? Okay, I'm sorry, that was Mr. Forrest.
Just one comment addressing that. I would have to assume that the majority of the use in this parking lot will be just for the trailers, and probably limited parking of trailers with the tractors attached. So maybe what we could do is talk to them and maybe reserve the furthest east row of parking for use with the trailers that have the tractors attached. So they'd be the furthest away from Wooddale Road, as opposed to, having them right up in front. So again, these are the types of things we can develop as we go through the process, and ultimately it would end back with this committee at some point in the future.
Maybe I'm not clear. Is this, I look at it like a truck stop or something? Is that what this is?
No, this is going to be a giant parking lot.
Okay, okay, so how long, what is the truck gonna come in, drop off I'm gonna call it a container? And then what does the truck leave right away?
Well, I mean, you have a lot of truckers that are over-the-road truckers, but they come home on the weekends. Like Mr. Gullo said, well, they can, typically they can park their tractors, unless they live in certain areas of Wooddale, they can park their tractors in their driveways. But they need a place to keep the trailer. Or if there's a freight forwarding company that has, trailers that they need a place to store them, then they would be parked there. So not necessarily, I have to think that not necessarily every single space is going to have a trailer with the tractor, which is the truck part,
Right.
attached,
Okay.
parked there all the time. I would assume that the majority of